साथ ही आज हाइब्रिड बैटरी इलेक्ट्रोड मैन्युफैक्चरिंग भी स्टार्ट हो रही है.
How India went from EV underdog to global contender. Just a decade ago, nobody believed India could lead in electric vehicles. With crowded streets, unreliable infrastructure, and dependence on fossil fuels, India looked like the last place for an EV revolution. But today, the script has flipped. India is rising as a global EV contender, challenging giants like China, Europe, and the US. So, join us as we uncover the story of how India went from EV underdog to global contender. India's journey into the electric vehicle space didn't begin with roaring success. It started with skepticism. For decades, the country was locked into petrol and diesel. Automobiles in India were cheap, rugged, and designed for mass mobility. EVs? They were seen as expensive toys for the rich. But the turning point came when policymakers realized that India's heavy dependence on oil imports was a ticking time bomb. Rising fuel prices, choking pollution in cities like Delhi, and global climate pressure made the government act. That's when FAME1, faster adoption, and manufacturing of hybrid and electric vehicles launched in 2015. It wasn't perfect, but it planted the seed. Subsidies, tax breaks, and incentives encouraged manufacturers to start experimenting with electric technology. Then came FAME2 in 2019, a bigger push that poured billions into EV adoption, especially focusing on two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and public transport. This was the beginning of India's electric pivot. Unlike Western countries, where EV adoption was led by cars like Tesla, India's revolution began differently. Here, two-wheelers and three-wheelers dominate the streets. Over 80% of vehicles sold in India are scooters, motorcycles, and rickshaws. Startups like Ather Energy, Ola Electric, and Revolt Motors realized this was the real market. They designed electric scooters that were affordable, stylish, and practical for daily commuting. Ola even launched one of the world's largest EV factories in Tamil Nadu, nicknamed the Future Factory, aiming to produce millions of scooters each year. Meanwhile, three-wheeler EVs, better known as e-rickshaws, boomed in smaller towns and cities. For many drivers, switching to electric wasn't about climate, it was about economics. Electric vehicle rickshaws had lower running costs, no rising petrol bills, and higher profit margins. In just a few years, India became the world leader in electric three-wheeler sales. But there was a big challenge: batteries. India depended heavily on imported lithium-ion cells, mostly from China. This was a weakness critics loved to point out. Yet, India didn't back down. Major conglomerates like Reliance Industries, Tata Group, and Adani announced massive investments into battery manufacturing plants, called gigafactories. With government schemes like the Production-Linked Incentive, PLI, India set the stage to build its own battery ecosystem and reduce import dependence. At the same time, global giants began paying attention. Tesla explored setting up in India, Hyundai introduced its electric SUV, and Tata Motors quickly became the leader in electric cars, with affordable models like the Nexon EV. Suddenly, the Indian EV space wasn't just about catching up, it was about setting trends. But what about charging infrastructure? For years, that was the biggest bottleneck. EV owners complained about range anxiety and lack of charging points. Today, that picture is changing fast. Companies like Tata Power, BPCL, and startups like Static are installing thousands of chargers across highways, malls, and residential complexes. States like Delhi and Maharashtra have rolled out aggressive EV policies, offering free parking, tax exemptions, and charging subsidies. Another hidden strength is India's ability to scale. With the world's largest population, India represents the biggest growth market for EVs in the next decade. Just as the country leapfrogged from no phones to mass mobile adoption and from cash to digital payments with apps like UPI, it has the potential to leapfrog straight into electric mobility at scale, and the numbers prove it. EV sales in India have skyrocketed, from just a few thousand units a decade ago to over 1.5 million in 2023 alone. Analysts predict that by 2030, 1 in every 3 vehicles sold in India could be electric. That would make India not just a major EV market, but one of the largest in the world. Finally, there's the global angle. With low manufacturing costs, skilled labor, and a massive domestic market, India is positioning itself as a global EV hub. Automakers are eyeing India not just for selling EVs, but for exporting them worldwide. If India can solve its battery supply chain and strengthen infrastructure, it could very well compete with China as a global EV powerhouse. So, what started as doubt has turned into determination. India was once dismissed as an EV underdog, but with smart policies, local innovation, and global ambition, it's now emerging as one of the most important players in the electric revolution. The real question is, can India go beyond being a contender and actually become the leader in the global EV race? Only time will tell. Until then, stay tuned, because this electric revolution is just getting started. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the biggest shifts shaping our world.